that adequate public and private facilities are or will be provided for the proposed use. If the findings are presented and are able to be met, we can go ahead and either approve or approve with conditions the CUP application. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will have to be denied. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons attending the public hearing and either submitting a written response or speaking at the hearing itself. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. All appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the decision date, and anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms at Permit Services in the Building and Safety section. If you wish to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms which have been provided by the front door and submit it to staff. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the Planning Hearing Officer hearing are recorded on tape, on DVD that is, as part of the public record. As I mentioned, there are 2 items on today's agenda. We are taking items out of order. The first item to be heard today will be a conditional use permit number PCUP 1307027 to be located at 2263, that's 2263 Honolulu Avenue, Bluefish Izakaya. I would like to have the case planner, Ms. Duarte, give a brief presentation, please.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Zimatitis. There are 2 structures on this property. The main building is approximately 2,800 square feet. It currently has 2 occupants, Bluefish Japanese Restaurant, which is located at 2261 Honolulu Avenue, and Bluefish Izakaya Restaurant, which is located at the 2263 Honolulu Avenue. There are entrances on Honolulu Avenue and from the rear parking area. The second structure, which is about 19 feet from the rear property line, is used for storage. There are 3 on-site parking spaces located at the rear property line. Access to the parking lot is provided by a 20-foot wide alley. Additionally, nearby public parking, approximately 310 spaces, is provided across the alley in City Parking Lot 3. Bluefish Izakaya was granted a zoning use certificate on 2012 to operate as a fast food restaurant. Fast food restaurants require a conditional use permit in this zone, the CR zone. The applicant is now requesting a change to a full service restaurant, and therefore a conditional use permit is no longer required. A conditional use permit was approved in 2008 to allow the sale, service, and on-site consumption of beer and wine at the existing fast food restaurant. And it was granted for 5 years and it is now expired, so that's why they're here today. The current hours of operation are Monday through Saturday, 4 to 12 p.m., and Sunday, 4 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And they're proposing to change the hours of operation Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and then again open from 4:30 to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and 4:30 to 11:30 p.m. And then Sunday, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. I guess that was the same. Never mind. No, 10 p.m. on Monday through Thursday, and Friday and Saturday, 11:30 p.m. So an hour and a half later, open on Friday and Saturday. Sorry about that. Staff did receive comments by the police department describing the number of businesses that sell alcohol and the number of crimes. However, they did not submit any objections to this request. Staff did not receive comments in an objection to this project. Staff concurs with the applicant's arguments and recommends approving the conditional use permit request. And the findings can be found in the staff report. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Duarte. No, I have no questions at this time. We have one speaker card. That is from the applicant, Mr. Alan Malikian.
Good morning. My name is Alan Malikian. I'm the applicant for the project and representing Bluefish Izakaya. I'm going to go through the findings and read through them. So the first question is, how will the proposed use be consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan? The general plan of the Glendale and current zoning of the Montrose Shopping Park is CR, and this zone permits a variety of land uses. The Montrose Shopping Park has a majority of restaurants who have beer and wine licenses, as well as some who have full liquor licenses. Izakaya is located in the Montrose Shopping Park and has a neighborhood restaurant, Bluefish, same owner, who has been serving beer and wine and part of the community for over 7 years and is a fine dining restaurant. Therefore, continuing to serve alcohol and becoming a fine dining restaurant, it will stay consistent. B. Why will the proposed use and its associate structures and facility not be detrimental to public welfare, safety, and general welfare, or to the environment? The renewal of the existing beer and wine license will not require any new associated structure or facilities. The use will only change from fast food to full-service restaurant, to which it already serves as one rather than a fast food. Again, the structure is no way being altered. Izakaya is keeping its current ways, therefore no way will it be detrimental to the public health, safety, general welfare, or environment. The request is being given the ability to continue to sell, serve, and consume beer and wine on-site with food service as a fine dining in the same way as it has been previously granted. Why will the proposed use and facilities not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of a surrounding property? The existing restaurant has and will serve the needs of the surrounding properties and even residents through the area. Same hours of Bluefish Izakaya will be in the operation. If anything, Izakaya brings a positive effect to the community and its client by increasing the diversity and presence of Montrose Shopping District. Izakaya will remain in its current condition. Therefore, it will not affect or conflict with any surrounding properties or businesses. Explain how adequate public and private facilities such as utilities, landscape, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures are or will be provided for the proposed use. Landscaping, parking, or traffic will not change as well since nothing is physically changing within the current establishment. It will continue the on-site sales, service, and consumption of alcohol beverages and serve as a full-service restaurant, remaining as a complementary use to its use, and it's not going to increase the need for public and private facilities. A change of fast food to full-service restaurant actually technically will be less traffic based on the Glendale Municipal Code. I just want to touch upon these hours of operation. I know the staff recommended 10:30 to 12 a.m. for the hours of operation, but we would like to request the weekend hours to be increased to 1 a.m., only Friday and Saturday.
Okay. Oh, please.
Yeah, and that's pretty much covers, and if you have any questions.
I just want to confirm both with staff and the applicant, Mr. Malikian, that the current conditional use permit for PCUP 2008-008 had the hours of operation only till 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, or Monday through Sunday, essentially 7 days a week.
Right.
So you're requesting to go from
10:30 a.m. Well, there's going to be times that are going to be closing. It depends on
Correct.
the downtime, and so that's why we agreed to go with the one through from 10:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. would be the hours of operation, which will be consistent with Bluefish, and so over the weekends, hopefully the business will need, and we just want to make sure we add that. At this moment, I don't think we see that need, but, that's the goal. So we don't want to come back and say, oh, we're going to stay open another hour or so. So that's why we wanted to include that in the...
Okay. Currently, Bluefish next door is a fast food, correct? Fine dining. Okay, so you have one fine dining, same operator, and now you are converting the existing Bluefish Izakaya from a fast food To a full-service
full
restaurant.
service. The menu is different. It has some consistent menu items, but there are other menu items that are different than what Bluefish provides. Barbecue and other Japanese barbecue and other elements. So that's why we wanted to kind of separate that and have that operate on its own.
And just for clarification, there is no intention of actually combining these two separate eating establishments into
If
one?
we are fully aware of if there is going to be anything in the future that they wanted to open up, we have to come back, combine both CUP into one, and combine both buildings, and it's going to operate as one. So we are fully aware of that.
Have you reviewed the other suggested conditions of approval?
Yeah, we have, and we're completely fine with that. We are not going to have any live entertainment there. Music, lighting, everything will be consistent with the requirements or the conditions. The rest of the requirements, other than the hours of operation, I think we're fine, and we are only going to be serving beer and wine.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to take the matter under consideration and render a decision in the week. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. This point in time, I would like to turn the planning hearing officer meeting over to Mr. Jeff Hamilton. He will be hearing the next case on today's agenda. And actually, if you don't mind, we're going to take a 2-minute break, please.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Hamilton. I'll be the hearing officer for the case at 1700 West Glen Oaks Boulevard. Conditional use permit case number PCUP 1303262. Applicant is Remedy Liquor with Rodney Kahn Consulting. Case planner is Rather Duong. First thing I'm going to do is ask the staff to give a presentation about the application.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Good morning. This is an application for a conditional use permit to expand the existing liquor store into the adjoining ground floor unit. Remedy Liquor currently occupies units B and G. B is on the ground floor, G is on the upper floor, in an area totaling about 4,000 square feet. The proposed expansion will be into Unit A, which is located on the ground floor next to Unit B. This space is about 2,000 square feet. So the expanded liquor store will be approximately 6,000 square feet. There have been a number of CUPs in the past that were approved for this business. The first CUP was to establish a liquor store and for the off-site sales of alcoholic beverages. The second CUP was to expand into Unit G and to establish wine tasting, and the third CUP was to include instructional tastings, and then the fourth CUP, which was approved last year in August, was to modify some of the tasting area to separate the wine tasting from the instructional tasting areas as required by ABC. Remedy Liquor is located within a two-story multi-tenant commercial buildings with underground parking. This building was constructed in 2009. It is located at the corner of West Glendale Boulevard and Western Avenue within the C1 zone, which is neighborhood commercial. And there are commercial businesses located across the street to the east and west of the subject property, as well as residential development. The building is currently leased by various businesses, including a bakery, a counter service restaurant, a tanning salon, a beauty salon, and a water store. As I stated earlier, Unit A is on the ground floor, and it was occupied by a retail store previously before it became vacant. So in this case, a change from the previous retail to the liquor store in Unit A is it falls under the same land use category, which is retail, so therefore it would not require additional parking or any other requirements to be met. Remedy Liquor currently is licensed through ABC with 3 different types of licenses, type 21, 42, and 86. This project was routed to the various departments for their comments, and no major concerns were expressed by these departments and divisions. However, police department offers some suggested conditions which are listed in the staff report. The proposed expansion is supportable by the planning division, as all findings can be made, and we recommend approval of this project with, again, the recommended conditions. And I would like to make some clarification about the conditions. There were a number of typos in the staff report. So there is no condition number 20, and condition number 21 is actually part of condition 19. So essentially, there are only 19 conditions. Okay, and the other clarification I'd like to make is condition number 11, which states that the sales, service, or consumption of alcoholic beverages shall be permitted only between the hours of 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. each day of the week. This condition came from the police department, and just to clarify, he intended to limit the tasting only, not the sales of alcohol. So we can modify that condition to address the tasting of alcoholic beverages.
So condition 11 then, as proposed by police, really should be consumption of alcoholic beverages shall be permitted only between 12 and 9 p.m.
Correct. And the reason why he included this condition was to prevent the establishment from behaving like a bar or a tavern.
Okay.
And that is different from condition number 17, which again, this is suggested by police department that the liquor store ceases operation at 12 midnight.
Okay.
And that's all I have. And the applicant's here to answer any question you may have. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to review the file of comments from other departments and see what they have to say. No other comments from other departments. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. I have one speaker card, Rodney Kahn. please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
I certainly will. Good morning, Mr. Hamilton and city staff. My name is Rodney Kahn. My address is 1111 North Brand Boulevard, Suite 403 here in the city of Glendale. And I'll just add a few comments to Mr. Duong's presentation because I thought he did a complete presentation and we agree with his revised conditions as well. The subject establishment has been in existence actually in the city of Glendale for a number of years. At this location for the last 4 years, previously for the past 15 plus years as Remedy Drug before they moved to this facility. The expansion that we're talking about here today is, as Mr. Duong pointed out, on the ground floor. It's right next to the existing liquor store, Remedy Liquor, which currently occupies about 2,500 square feet on the ground floor and about 1,500 square feet on the second floor. This new expansion is into Unit A. It's about 2,000 square feet. So the total store will be about approximately 6,000 square feet in completion. The expansion is for the Type 21 license. Type 21, as you know, is for the off-site sales of alcoholic beverages. The other existing licenses will not be impacted, and as stated in your conditions of approval, we will comply with all the existing conditions from the previous CUPs as well. The hours of operation for this business will remain unchanged. They are Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 9 a.m. to midnight, and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and those will remain the same. As part of the original shopping center when it was built back in 2009, there was CEQA environmental analysis done for this property and for this project. And at that time, it was fully analyzed, fully studied. The center is built according to the code requirements for Uniform Building Code, Fire Code, along with Zoning Code as well. We have all of the on-site parking, which is required, and as Mr. Duong pointed out, we are going from a retail use, which is the drugstore, to a retail use, which is an expansion of the liquor store. And what that actually does is it doesn't impact the parking, it doesn't increase the demand or decrease the demand of parking. It's simply from one retail establishment to another. The commercial center, which meets all of the city requirements, also serves in terms of the capacity in the area for utilities. It can meet water, power, sewer, everything else. This expansion won't impact that in any way at all. The application itself is not an increase in the number of licenses for alcoholic beverage control. It's actually an expansion, so it will remain the Type 21 license. It will be modified, and we will apply for a new zoning use certificate as also part of the conditional use permit as well. If you'd like, I can go through each of the findings if that's necessary, or I can just summarize comments however you so deem.
Why don't you just summarize your comments? Okay.
We agree that all the findings can be made. I mentioned in terms of the past 4 years being at this location. Mr. Isaacanian, who owns the business, also is an owner of the center itself. So he has very much a vested interest in operating in a professional manner and for the other tenants as well because he owns the property. That's exactly what he has done, and as you refer to the staff report, and in particular on page 4, it talks about there have been no complaints or reported conflicts filed with the city or the police department. The police department has reviewed the applicant's request, and based on the nature of the business, the clientele, and the layout of the liquor store, has expressed no concerns about the project. And finally, the owner's request to expand may reflect a growing and successful business. Very much what it does. It's also a credit to Mr. Isaacanian, the way he conducts his business and the way he controls the property. A couple other comments I'd like to point out and then maybe talk about the conditions, just clarifications if you will. The police department talks about the number of licenses in a census tract, as I already addressed. This is not an increase, it's actually an expansion of an existing Type 21 license. And then secondly, as it relates to the intensification or the neighborhood treatment, the neighbors are the businesses themselves that are there, which are very much in support of this application, and then the surrounding neighbors have not been impacted, obviously, in the professional way that he's conducted his business. The last thing I'll talk about is, I mentioned the conditions of approval. Mr. Duong addressed the ones that we needed a little clarification about. First of all, number 11, as it relates to instructional tasting only, which is the consumption, as you clarified, of alcoholic beverages be permitted only between the hours of 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. each day of the week. We actually don't have a problem with that condition, but I find it a little strange that this application and request that we're applying for here today has absolutely nothing to do with the instructional tasting. This is simply an expansion of the existing store that has nothing to do with instructional tasting, the location, or anything else. We'll be happy to comply with it, but it would seem like it would be more appropriate when we were applying for the conditional use permit and the instructional tasting. It's been a very short period of time, and we've had no incidents or issues, so it's a little strange to throw that in there as well. The second thing is condition number...
So I just wanted to ask you a quick question. So you're saying that condition did not apply prior to now? That this condition did not exist prior to this application? There is not a similar condition for the existing CUP?
Mr. Hamilton, I think there is, but in your earlier conditions, it says we have to comply with all the existing conditional use permits, all those other conditions. So to pull that one out seems very strange.
Oh, okay.
Okay, secondly, I do believe it has changed. I believe previously it was from 10 in the morning to 9 in the evening as opposed to from 12 to 9. Now,
Okay.
We're not objecting to it because we don't have any tastings at that time. It just seems strange and different to pull that one out for a license that has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
That's one thing. The second thing is the rest of the conditions we're fine with. Condition number 18, that dedicated security staff is suggested on site in addition to any audiovisual surveillance technology the applicant may wish to utilize. An audiovisual system should not take the place of security staff. It is recommended that the security staff be identified either by uniform or professional blazers. This, to me, is also another condition that really doesn't make sense. It's a suggested condition, which we would consider, so we may or may not do it. But to put that type of restriction on a liquor store, could you imagine that being done throughout the city of Glendale? And is that the type of condition that we look to impose on liquor stores throughout the city? It is not. Especially for a business that has conducted itself in a very professional manner, that has absolutely no police issues or problems over the last 4 years. That makes no sense whatsoever either. So we would consider it. We probably will not do it. But once again, I'm not sure why that condition is in there, other than just to throw it in there, other than to be more restrictive. But there's been nothing that's been established that would require or impose that on this application. The rest of the conditions we would agree to comply with. That'll conclude my remarks. If you have questions, I'll be happy to provide answers.
Sure. Does the store have a video surveillance system in place right now?
Yes, it does. And the overall, both the store does and the overall shopping center does as well.
Do you host events that generate lines of people coming in the door? Lines of cars going out to the street? So this is when we talk about incidental tasting, it truly is incidental, and this is an occasional offering?
Yes, Mr. Hamilton, the incidental tastings, and that's a completely separate application and a completely separate hearing that we had, not what we're hearing today. The incidental tastings, they have very strict conditions as required by ABC. There's only one that's allowed per day. they don't have them, but maybe once every few weeks. But nevertheless, they have the ability to have them. There's never been issues or incidents or problems or anything like that. Obviously, that's why there were no comments from the police department and they've had no incidents. So I'm not really sure where that was coming from. And the reason I bring it up is because we're in the hearing today, and that's a condition for this application.
Understood.
So,
I don't have any more questions for you. Thank you very much.
thank you.
I'd like to have a couple of questions for Rather, the staff person. Rather, is condition 8, are all these conditions repeats from previous approvals, or can you tell me, like, for example, is condition 18 sort of a new condition that wasn't there previously?
That is correct, Mr. Hamilton. Most of the conditions that are reflected in the staff reports are conditions suggested by the police department, specifically number 9 through 19. Those are all from the police department.
But is 18 among those which is essentially new in that condition did not previously apply to any of the prior approvals?
I believe that's correct.
And is that sort of the same for condition 11 about when they can actually conduct sales, service, and consumption, or did they have a similar condition prior to this?
There's a similar condition to number 11, but specifically what I was told by Lieutenant Feely is that this is regarding condition number 11. It's not so much the instructional tasting, it's the wine tasting.
Okay. But again, he was focused on the condition really should be applicable to consumption, not sales or
Yes, exactly.
Well, I guess service. Yeah, service and consumption is what we're talking about.
Correct.
And the applicant has already indicated that they accept the conditions as listed, but they have certain concerns about some of them. We've also got evidence in the Well, I'm going to close the public hearing at this point before I go on. We've got evidence in the record that this project has not been a problem in the community. We've got support from the applicant with all the proposed conditions, and the evidence, the facts show that this is a pretty minor change in the current operation of the project of the liquor store. So I'm going to approve the request at today's hearing. I'm going to amend the conditions to strike condition 18, so that won't be imposed at all, even though it's just a suggestion. And then we're going to revise condition 11 to use the verbiage, service or consumption of alcohol beverages shall be limited to 12 noon to 9 p.m. So that'll leave you with a total of
18.
Well, there are a total of 19 conditions right
Yes,
now? Yeah, so then you'll have a total of 18 conditions. The decision letter will be coming out today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I see nothing else on the agenda, no reports or items from staff, so this will close the hearing for the day. Thank you very much.